Hi everyone, and welcome to another coloring and card tutorial. Today's card tutorial is again one of those more color intensive ones. So I'm going to start with the coloring, and then at the end we're going to have the very clean and simple card. I like making clean and simple cards when I do color intensive things because I want the coloring to kind of pop. But yeah, let's hop into the coloring. The character I am coloring today is called Jojo. He's a digital stamp by Make It Crafty, and he's just super adorable. I really love these characters. I think I have colored most of the characters in this series, but I have to go through and see if I can find more of them. This little cheeky guy, he's just super adorable. I chose to print him with my Canon Pixma onto some Copic safe paper. Everything is linked in the description down below, so if there's something you wonder what kind of materials I used today, there will be links in the YouTube. You can also hop over to my blog to see more kind of close-up photos and read a little bit about my thought process. But yeah, so I am using my color scheme that I love using, and for skins, this is for Caucasian skin. And one of the reasons why I love this combination is because it actually works not only for black lined image but also for these kind of no line coloring images. A no line coloring image is when you print or stamp your image in a much lighter ink, which kind of leaves when you have colored the image, you hardly see the lines, so it's a very soft, very storybook-esque kind of look, which I really love. But there's a few things you have to think about when you are doing a no coloring line kind of no line coloring kind of image, and that is that because you don't have the lines, you really want to have the contrast, to use the contrast in the color, the values of the colors to build up your character, which kind of means that then you get to start taking a couple of artistic freedoms, like a rim light, for example. There might not be a light source that actually casts a rim light, but you might want to use it in certain parts so that you can differentiate where the shadow, the cast shadow ends and the rounded shadow begins, to kind of separate the different parts. And with no line coloring, that is even more important because you don't have that natural delimiter of the black line that you have on an ordinary lined image. So if you look at my image, you see that I have some rounded shadows around his face. I have not looked at a rim light there. I just have kind of left it as it is, and that is because I chose not to go with the darkest color for the rounded shadows on his face. I have more dark color on his ear than on his face, kind of keeping the ear and the face separate. When I'm working around here, working with the hair, some of the strands I'm actually leaving lighter to differentiate between the depth of the hair and the strand of the hair. So even though the strand might not supposed to be light there, I have left it light because I wanted to see the difference between where the cast shadow is and where just the kind of dimensional shadows are. And I have a lot of fun. I was really afraid of no line coloring when I started trying these out, and I actually started out with doing it with pencils, because with pencils they are more forgiving. They take a lot more time to work with. I must say that they take a lot more time to work with, but they are much more forgiving, because if you put the darkness wrong, you can kind of use an eraser to remove it. If you're not supposed to have the area white, because you usually can't erase everything, you can erase it to a certain degree, so it's easier to kind of differentiate, and for me, I feel more comfortable doing it in the pencils, even though I am more proficient in coloring with Copics, because that is what I've done the most. So when I started with no line coloring, I tried out with some pencils because that felt more comfortable. But now lately, I've really been enjoying coloring with the no line coloring, both because you can add textures and stuff that you can't, or when you add it over lines that are dark, they can kind of feel in the wrong place. But when you color on a no line coloring image with light lines, the colors kind of pick the color up, or the lines pick the color up, and you can't really see the lines. Of course, I'm coloring some white flowers here that are not as easy when you have a no line coloring technique, because you won't have the delimiter with the flowers, but I kind of liked how it turned out anyhow. So yeah, that's the whole kind of idea behind my no line coloring and everything, and I really enjoyed how this character came out. And of course I had to cut him out with my fussy cutter scissors, just with a little bit of a white delimiter, because that makes it also easier to pop from the background color, which is going to be a pattern paper today. But if you have any questions about my coloring or anything, just comment down below and I try to answer as soon as possible. And maybe if I get enough questions, I can make a little bit of a Q&A video. Who knows? Who knows? So yeah, that is coloring. So now to the card. I wanted this to be the easiest card. So I found first of all, I found these Make It Crafty chipboard pieces. This is one of her layering words, and it's the birthday word. I started with a lighter color when I colored, and then I colored over with the, I think that is the Blue Violet 13, because I felt it wouldn't pop enough when it was that light. So I just colored over with the Copics first, and this was because then I could pop it out, and then I can go over for the rest of the piece with white paint without needing to worry about it. So there's the word. I'm going in, this is some Windy Wiki gesso, one of those tubes. I do a double layer to get it like sort of white. There's so many different ways of coloring this white. However, I did discover that I got a lot of color in the holes, so here I go with a picky tool to just go through all of the holes and remove the excess color. I usually actually use a little bit of water with this gesso to make it a little bit more fluent, and then you don't get the color in the holes. For the background, as I said, I'm using some My Favorite Things pattern paper. I found this purple like wood grain paper, which just was perfect. Cut it out with a stitch rectangular, as the stitched part will help it kind of pop from the card base. Then I'm going in with my darker green. I'm just coloring on the same cardstock as the character, putting a little bit of double-sided tape on the background. I love this double-sided tape because everything stick down so perfectly. I have so many different length of rolls of that, but yeah. And then I'm taking these alphabets, also by My Favorite Things, alphabet dies, and I'm gonna write happy. I didn't find a stamp that would perfectly fit, and I thought about how I have a lot of different alphabet dies, so why not use those? It's a little bit harder because the alphabet, I always have a little hard time lining them up, but I have natural kind of stripes on the wood, so I thought I could use that to line the letters up. I had to run the P twice for happy. Then I'm going in with some Lawn Fawn glue pen. I really love this glue pen. The glue sticks down really good, and it's actually really easy to apply. So I haven't tried that many different glues, but this one I just picked up in my local craft store, and I really enjoy it. So if you're looking for a glue, I do recommend this one. it doesn't really seep, and also it dries dry to the touch, which is why one of the reasons why I don't use the Tombow Mono, because I have a tendency to get glue on different places and that dries tacky. It's the letters, as I did put the tape on the back side before I ran it to the double-sided tape, they are all sticky, so I don't have to add any tape or any glue to these. I just picked them up with the same pokey tool because I had it lying, and then I'm trying to just line these up. I'm not good at the lining up of the letters, but it came out okay, so yeah, I'm happy with it. You know, happy with the happy. Then I'm using some more of that Fawn glue on the back side of my little text here. And the last part, oh yeah, after I done this, I'm going in with a tape runner. Hey, if you're putting together a card with chipboard pieces, I do recommend you to put the kind of layer on top of the card before you put on the chipboard pieces. I didn't. It was a little bit harder to get the tape runner on the backside, but hey, it worked out in the end. I also took some 3D foam tape there on the back of my character, because I like to pop my characters up to get another layer of depth, because you get a little bit of a shadow cast by the character when you have it popped up a little bit. Also, the foam tape is so thin, so it doesn't build that much. It builds about the same amount as that little chipboard piece, so it's fairly flat but still gives quite a lot of dimension. And also I opted to put the sentiment in the corner because of how the character is, as it has the flowers going over the card. And that actually finished off the card. I mounted it on some white Nina card base. I cut the Nina in half and then I folded it in half, and then I had the card base. So yeah, that is the card for the day. I hope you liked it. If you do, please thumbs it up. If you have any questions, just comment down below. Down below you can find all the details and information about everything. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye!